All right, welcome to the first video from the ratio and proportional reasoning basics videos. So by watching this, you're going to be able to better understand how to use ratios, which is a bunch of things, and it includes fractions and just division in general. But we're going to start by just talking specifically what a ratio is. So a ratio is something that's comparing two numbers together using a multiplying or dividing relationship. Sometimes it'll compare more numbers than that, but the main idea about how ratios work is using multiplying and dividing. It's sort of a comparison. So 3 to 1 is a ratio altogether. It includes two numbers that are being related together. One number, the first, is 3 times bigger than the second number is. 4 out of 5, also a ratio, two numbers, and we're thinking about their relative sizes compared to each other. So this is different than the first way you would have learned to compare numbers. The first way you learn to compare numbers is using difference, which is like subtraction. For example, if you were looking at the numbers 3 and 1, you would maybe think that 3 is bigger than 1, and it's bigger by 2, right? So the difference between 3 and 1 is 2. Or same with 5 and 4, you'd see a difference of 1. And that's one way of comparing numbers, but it's not what ratios are. Ratios are based on multiplying and dividing, so mainly dividing as the main idea. So we're going to look at this example, which is simply, imagine you're planning a party or a gathering. You want to make sure you have 3 pieces of pizza for every one person. So here it is, 3 pieces of pizza for one person, and we can write this in a kind of traditional ratio form as 3, I'm just giving myself a little more room, 3 to 1. And there's a lot of other ways we can think about this. So 3 to 1, we could write it as a fraction. We could write it as 3 over 1. We could write it as 3 pizza per 1 person. We can think of it as 3 divided by 1. Sorry, throw a little division symbol on there. This is 3 divided by 1, if we want to think of it that way, or 3 to 1, like in this example. The parts of a ratio we call the terms. Okay, so these are called the terms. These are the terms. Just like so. Okay, those are the terms of a ratio. This is a 2-term ratio because it just has 2 numbers that are being compared. And the idea here is that in whatever the case, this ratio, there's a comparison happening between the first number and the second number. So this first number is 3 times bigger. This first term is 3 times bigger than the second term is, right? If we start with 1, we go 1 times 3, and we would get 3. Similarly, if we start with the 3, we could divide by 3 to get to the second term. So this is sort of this linked idea where the 3 is bigger than the 1. So soon you'll talk about equivalent ratios, where there's like other possible numbers of pizzas and people at your party, for example. Like if you have 2 people, you might have 6 pizzas. If you have 3 people, this still probably is not a party yet. But you might imagine that if you have 10 people at your party, then you might have 30 pizzas. And the reason is because these numbers are linked by the same relationship, that there's always 3 pizzas per person. So this is what a ratio is. It's a way of comparing numbers proportionally, right? So sometimes we call ratios proportions. So you're going to look at different scenarios that involve different quantities of things. Some examples of pizzas and people, different color marbles and jars, those sorts of simple examples. And you're going to write ratios to describe them. And you're also going to write them in multiple forms. So you're just starting to build this language of ratios. Okay, and then once you've just kind of got yourself warmed up with ratios, then we will see you in the next video. All right, good luck.